everyone, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer. Some breaking news this morning around the 49ers. They just keep making news. They just are in the news cycle constantly. They are the gift that keeps on giving. This morning, word breaking according to Phil Yates of ESPN that the 49ers have restructured the contract of defensive tackle Arik Armstead. This is the third big restructuring for the 49ers since they agreed to terms with defensive end Nick Bosa. With this restructuring of Arik Armstead, the 49ers have freed up $11.78 million according to Phil Yates. $11.78 million on the Arik Armstead restructuring. Looking at that, basically all they've done is they've added their money into dead cap years. He has void years at the end of his current agreement. There's three of them. That money that went for this restructuring, this $11.78 million, has been pushed into next season along with those three void years. Just looking at the details really quickly on a couple of different contract sites. So what the big piece with this, what that means for the 49ers, is that right now the San Francisco 49ers, one of the best teams in the NFL, they also have the most salary cap space of any team in the NFL, now at $41.5 million. So the San Francisco 49ers, $41.5 million in salary cap space now after restructuring defensive tackle Arik Armstead. Again, this comes on the heels of the big signing of Nick Bosa. Those details not completely out at this moment. We know with Bosa it was $170 million guaranteed, $122.5 million guaranteed, $170 million overall over a 5-year period. And then also, according to the reports, there's a $50 million signing bonus for Nick Bosa. So when you look at what the 49ers have done between Trent Williams, George Kittle, Arik Armstead, freeing up over $41 million in cap space, what are they going to do now? There's really three options when you look at it that I can see. Number one, you're going to front load Nick Bosa's contract. This is something that the 49ers did back in 2017 when they agreed to a record-breaking deal, making Jimmy Garoppolo the highest paid quarterback in the NFL at that time. What they did was they front-loaded that contract. If you remember, back in 2018, his first season under that new contract, his cap hit was over $37 million, $37.5 million. That allowed them to then drop it the next season down to 17.5, right around that range, and then it went pretty steady after that, right in that 26 range. But it was really manageable. Even if they wanted to, when he was at 26 million, they could have done restructuring, done different things with Garoppolo if they really wanted to keep him around long term. I think that's what we'll see here with Nick Bosa as well. So let's see if it's front loaded. That would make sense, because then with that front loaded deal, you get a bunch of that money out of the way early. That allows you to go back next season and possibly bring back Brandon Ayuk. If the 49ers really want to keep the wide receiver, they can go ahead and make that deal if Bosa's front loaded and they freed up some cap space there. Or possibly what we're going to see them go do, maybe they don't front load Nick Bosa. Maybe instead they decide to swing for the fences. You know, the 49ers have talked all offseason about this being a Super Bowl roster, and it really feels like they are all in on 2023, almost like no other. And so maybe what the 49ers are looking at here is making a big trade or some kind of a big acquisition. Looking at that, it really has to be through a trade, because there's nobody out on the market right now that's a free agent that you're going to swing for the fences for and pay an absorbent amount of money. $41.5 million, quite a bit. So maybe they're going to go out and maybe they're going to make a trade. A guy like Danielle Hunter would make sense. Brian Burns, the defensive end from Carolina. Those are the types of players I think the 49ers might be interested in if they're going to make a big move through the trade market now. The other option, and I think the one that might even be the most likely, is that they'll just go ahead and they'll roll over the cap into 2024. Just take all that $41 million. The 49ers typically like to have about $5 to $6 million set aside against the salary cap when they go into the season, so that they can sign players throughout and those types of things. So maybe what they're looking at right now is they want to roll over as much of this as they can and just take $41.5 million in cap space, roll into next year, which would give them that right around $40 million right now, because at this point, as it stands currently, they're a little over the cap next year. So maybe that's what their goal is here. Maybe they're just going to go ahead and keep Bosa right around the same number that he was already against the cap. He was supposed to be about 17.5 as on his fifth year option. Maybe they keep him right around that same number, but they just roll over the rest of it to help pay for his salary next year, to help them bring back Brandon Ayuk. There's also several other veteran deals that they can go to if they want to go ahead and extend players or restructure other guys. There's a number of them. Before this Armstead deal came down, there was about $82 million in potential restructuring that the 49ers could have done this offseason. That number drops a little bit now, probably into about the $75 million range, but they still have a lot of roster flexibility. Because remember, the restructuring, when a team does a restructure, what they're typically doing, the guaranteed money is already set. You can't mess with that. But what you can mess with is the base salary. The 49ers have done a nice job of giving their players big contracts that include a high amount of base salary as well, which allows the 49ers to move that money around to different areas as needed to be compliant with the cap and those types of things. So that could be what's happening here. But again, big news this morning on the eve of week 1 for the 49ers out in Pittsburgh. According to Field Yates of ESPN, the San Francisco 49ers have restructured the contract of Arik Armstead. That frees up $11.78 million in cap. Overall now, the 49ers have $41.5 million in cap space for the 2023 season, a season in which they are one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, and I think a season as well that if you ask the people around the 49ers and inside that building, they would tell you they are all in on winning a Super Bowl this season. And making this where they are able to bring back that 6th Lombardi trophy to San Francisco. And again, just really quick, just to recap, that part of it, the options would be to front load Bosa, make a big trade, acquire a contract, maybe roll over that cap for 2024. One of them that I didn't mention is a little bit of all of those. They can do a little bit of each of that. They can give Bosa a bigger upfront payment. They can still have money left over to acquire a player through trade that has a larger size contract that they can bring in, and still have money left over to roll over into next season. So the 49ers in a really good spot here cap-wise. Yes, you hear a lot about how doing these type of restructures are robbing Peter to pay Paul, how that ticket always comes due at some point, and to an extent that's true. One thing I'll mention is we've been hearing that for years about various teams. You look at their cap situations of the New Orleans Saints, for example, and this is a team that they were in a really bad spot a couple of years ago. People were just not figuring how the Saints were going to be able to field a team. Not only did they have a team, but they were in the playoff race and right in it. Last season they didn't have Drew Brees, so they fell off a little bit, but now they have Derek Carr, and we're able to give him big money. They were able to pay a lot of money to Derek Carr, even though they've been in what, quote, salary cap hell for quite a while. So this can be done if you have smart people working the money. It's just about moving. It's a shell game when it comes to the NFL salary cap. Yeah, it's a hard cap. Yes, you've got to get it. But the biggest thing that this all says is as long as you are moving the money around for the right players, it's not a problem. And you're doing it with your top players, the guys that are still producing, that's okay. What happens where teams get themselves in the trouble is when they start doing that with guys who are no longer producing and don't really deserve that spot on the roster. That's where they get themselves in the trouble. But you look at the guys that the 49ers are doing this with right now. George Kittle, still one of the best in the game. Trent Williams, getting a little bit older, still one of the best in the game. Arik Armstead, I think, is the second best defensive lineman on the 49ers. He plays at a high level. I think the 49ers are doing a good job with this. Yes, there's a little bit of risk, but I think it's minor when you consider who they're doing it with, and the fact that most of these big dollar deals that the 49ers have been giving out are going to guys that they drafted, guys they developed. Now, Trent Williams isn't one of those, but for the most part, it has been. Christian McCaffrey, another one who isn't necessarily a guy that they developed either. But 49ers doing a good job here, doing the restructuring of Arik Armstead, $41.5 million. What are they going to do next? Keep it locked in right here to Inside the 49ers to find out. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Take it for what it's worth. I appreciate you all. If you can do me a favor before you leave, smash that like button for me. Then subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And then last but not least, make sure you turn your notifications on, because I guarantee you're not going to want to miss any of the updates right here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk with you soon.